Ganesh Devi. I know he wouldn't want me to say that, but he was the one who started the PLSI. I've been in close association with him, and I've seen the way he works. Now, what he has succeeded in doing is something that anyone from Northeast India would not have been able to do. He has been able to contact communities in Northeast India and ask them to come out to translate their own folk knowledge, and this is something that's coming out in different volumes. Now, what we have here is that the act of translation is something that has to be done in freedom, which was something that we were able to achieve under the PLSI. Now, this freedom is something that is synonymous with translation, and this is something that we have to keep in mind when we talk about the northeastern communities. Now, you know, whenever we talk about translation in the Northeast, I always think of the African American community. You know, because this is something that I teach in the university. The African Americans were taken as slaves into America, and what they brought to America was something that America could not erase. It was their vernacular tradition, you know, their spoken knowledge of things, their spoken understanding of things. Now, this is something that has seeped into their literature, into American literature as such, so that even in the 1920s we have in American literature we have what is known as the jazz age, and jazz is a music that has come from the African Americans. Now, when I talk about this, I keep in mind the northeastern communities. There are so many different communities, and the center of these northeastern communities, please, with due respect, is not Delhi. You know, for many communities in India, the center is Hindi, the center is Bengali, the center is Malayalam, the major medieval classical languages. We don't have any of these medieval or classical languages, except of course apart from Assamese and Manipuri. But when I stand here, I'm talking about the different hill communities in Northeast India who are yet to be translated. And what we have to understand about the peculiar situation in Northeast India is that the translation process, the act of speech, the act of I'm not saying the act of writing, the oral tradition is something that is closely connected with the land. And you know, if you take the land away from the people, that oral knowledge will be completely erased. And even if this oral knowledge, this oral dimension is put into the written medium, I think a lot of it will be taken away. So how do we talk about translation? What kind of translation do we do in Northeast India? Because we have to also understand that in Northeast India, there's also this problem of identity. On the one hand, we have people claiming themselves to be part of the country. They wouldn't want to be anywhere else. India has provided for them their constitutional rights and etc., etc. Now, if you go to these hill communities, what you will find is that people identify themselves by their allegiance to their oral culture. And as I had pointed out in an earlier discussion that we had day before yesterday, if you look at these communities, they have their own origin myths. You know, these communities have not moved far away from their origin myths. They're still in touch with their origin myths. So if you go to these communities, they still talk about their origins. They still talk about their migrations from different parts of the world, from Tibet, from China, from Burma. And if you go to these communities, they still have their own stories about how they lost their written script. Now, amongst the Khasis, it was believed that the script was given to them by God. And the Khasi messenger went with all the other people from the different parts of the world. And one was the plainsman. When he received the script from God, he tied it on his ponytail. You know, this must be the Brahminical, priest. And the Khasi, stupid man that he is, I mean, everybody in the Khasi community talks about him as being very stupid. He actually put it in his mouth, and when they had to cross a river that was completely flooded, he swallowed it. And because of that, we don't have a written script. Now, the Nagas also have a different story. Their script was given to them on the bark of an animal, and the dog came and ate it. The Nagas also have a different story related to their